My name is Brice Ferguson. I'm a realtor with the Hanley Homes Group at Keller Williams Island Life Real Estate here in sunny Venice, Florida. Today I'm gathered around friends and coworkers and colleagues to do a question and answer session to give you more information on what is going on in the world of real estate. I've been involved in real estate for going on the better half of a decade, primarily as a lender and now as a realtor. So I have a unique perspective not only on what is happening in the available housing market, but also what's going on in getting financing and becoming a homeowner instead of spending money on being a home rentor. With that, I would like to open the floor for a couple of questions to our audience today. So if anybody would like to ask a question, please feel free and go ahead. Lisa, I see you're waving your hand. What can I do for you?
So you said in there that you were here to talk about what's happening in real estate. So what is happening with real estate these days?
That's a great question. Now, I'm going to speak primarily to Southwest Florida, Sarasota County, and give you some statistics. And I'm not going to overload you with numbers. Don't worry. We're not going to bore anybody off of the feed. But basically what we're seeing is counterintuitive to what you would expect to see in the middle of a national and international pandemic. Taking a look at the last 90 days this year, 2020, versus the last 90 days of last year, we're seeing two trends that are happening. One, housing prices are still going up. They're not going up crazy like they were. For a while, they were going up somewhere between 11 and 17% a year. It's mellowed out quite a bit. A stable position for the real estate market as far as pricing expansion goes is typically around 4% a year. So if your house is worth $100,000 in 2019 and it's worth $104,000 in 2020, that's generally considered solid, reasonable growth. That's what we like to see. Now, in years past, we've seen it go from $100,000 to $117,000. Obviously, the bigger the price on the home, the bigger that increase is. And while that's nice as a homeowner, it's also unsustainable financially for the market. So we've seen a mellowing of that, yet still prices are going up. Second thing we've seen is the average days on market, how long it takes a house to actually sell, has come down, which means houses are moving faster in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic than they were last year in 2019 with normal economic circumstances. That average is about 12 days quicker than what we were seeing last year at the same time. What else are we seeing? Well, we're seeing a lot of unknowns. People are wondering, is now a good time to even have people in my house? Is now the time I want to buy a property? Do I want to sell a property? So there's a lot of curiosity going on in that regard, a lot of unknowns. So most of our conversations these days are educating our clients, whether they're buying or selling, on what they need to know in order to make an educated decision. Do we have another question in the audience?
Well, you touched on it, Brice, but now, given the state of affairs and everything going on in the world, is now a good time to buy or sell real estate?
So here is the common philosophy. It's always a good time to get involved in real estate. Like the stock market, you make money with real estate by holding on to it long term. Granted, there are folks that do what's known as flipping, where an opportunity presents itself to get a less expensive property, put a little bit of money and elbow grease into it, and then sell it for a substantial profit. We don't have a lot of those opportunities today. They do exist, but what we're finding is a lot of people are buying homes for themselves, of course, but a lot of people are also buying homes as investments to provide as a rental option for other members of the community. That as an income stream can be very lucrative, so it's always a good time to do some market analysis and look at the numbers on that. And what we're finding is that it's very profitable for the folks that are involved in that portion of the economy. As far as selling is something that comes down to taking a look at market trends. Now, if you all recall, back in 2008, the market kind of took a nosedive. Houses in our area lost somewhere between 40 and 60% of their value. That's huge. We have since regained most of that equity position. In some communities, we've actually exceeded that equity position, and houses are now more valuable than they were back then. What a person needs to do is look at their current circumstance if they have a home they're wishing to sell. And we're talking strictly from a financial perspective. If you're looking to sell because you want to live in a different neighborhood or you're moving out of the area, obviously it's always the right time to sell if that's your prerogative. But if you're looking at an economic position, when you sell a home, likely you also have to buy a home. So you need to take a look and see what that equity is that you have in your house versus what you're going to purchase and see if it makes financial sense. Well, Brice, how do I know that? Well, two things. One, if you have a financial consultant that you work with, talk with them. And two, definitely check with a qualified realtor that can answer questions on market trends and what's happening in the specific neighborhood that your property is located in. For buying a house for your own personal use, here's a great thing to think about. Right now, if you're involving financing of any type, for a mortgage for your home, rates have never been lower. This is historically the lowest interest rates have ever been in the mortgage game. Now is the time to buy a home using somebody else's money that's almost no cost to you. Yes, you're paying interest. Yes, you have closing fees, but compared to historical averages of 8, 9% versus right now in the threes and low fours, even if you're low qualified, it's never been financially better. Now, that's not to say it's easy. The mortgage constraints and the requirements in order to get financing have gotten very tight right now during the pandemic because a lot of people's work and income is in flux. They don't know if you're going to be able to make a payment in 90 days. They don't know if you're going to be able to continue to be employed. So there's a lot of new considerations. Credit score requirements have gotten really high. Your ability to show verifiable income has gotten more stringent. So there are things to consider, but if you do qualify, now is a fantastic time if financing is involved to buy a home. Any additional questions?
How are you keeping everyone safe?
So that's a question we get a lot. You know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. The CDC has given out guidelines for all of our buyers and sellers. One, they have to disclose if they've done any traveling within the last 14 days. We want to know that. If you're flying in from New York, where it's been the epicenter of the outbreak in the United States, we want to know. We want to be able to keep you safe. We want to be able to keep us safe, and especially our homeowners and other clients safe. So we have a disclosure that our clients fill out. But let's say we're actually going on premises to look at a property. We're requiring the use of face masks. We want you to have hand sanitizer. We'll bring it, don't worry. And we want to make sure that it's a look, not a touch experience. A lot of times when people would tour a home for purchase, you know, it's hands-on, you touch the counters, you open the cabinets, you look at, and you touch things. Well, we've had to change that experience a bit, and we're open and candid. You know, this is a serious thing that's happening in a serious time, and people need to understand why it's happening. We require that you stay safe for your safety, for my safety, and for the homeowner's safety as well. Something that's becoming a big trend, and it's actually very exciting to see, are what we call virtual tours. And there's a couple of different ways that we do this. One option, and this is something that I pre-record for all of our listings, is what we call a 3D Matterport virtual tour. They take a 3D camera and they take a series of pictures inside the home that acts like you're there. And anybody can access these pictures, and it's 360 degrees, and you can it's a full panorama from that spot, and there's many spots in the home. So what we've done is we've done a guided tour from picture to picture through the house. We record these and we put these out on social media for people to enjoy. Second option, and much more interactive, is I actually go on site with my camera and I walk people through the home, live feed with them, answering questions as we go. People have become very receptive to this type of a tour because, one, it recognizes the need to be safe. Two, it gives them the ability to interact with the information. Hey, focus in on this thing over there. Or what's going on with that countertop? Or those kinds of questions live. They don't have to follow up and me go back out. It can be like a normal conversation. And three, it's available to be done at their convenience. So, for example, we have a lot of buyers that are out of state. People like Florida. They want to retire here. So in order to help them, their timing may not be such that they can just fly down anyway. So now we have this ability to go out and do a virtual tour, and we're encouraging it, and people have been very receptive to that idea. It's very, very welcomed and helps a lot. I think even once we're past COVID-19 and we're back to whatever the new normal may be, I have a feeling that virtual tours in that capacity are going to remain as part of what our industry does. And those that become proficient with it are really going to be able to serve their clients at a higher level. I know we're limited on time today. I do appreciate our audience for being here. I would take any other questions if anybody has anything they'd like to know, any points of refinement that they have questions or curiosity about.
How do we get a hold of you?
So there's a couple of different ways to get a hold of me. Obviously, the best is my cell phone. The number on that is 941-735-9304. And that is my direct line. You can call that number basically at any time. I will tell you, if I don't answer, please feel free to send a text. Text messages I can respond to even when I'm on meetings or out and about. Phone calls may not always be available, but I'm happy to answer any questions a client may have. Also, you can reach out to me via email. It's Brice, BRICE, .Ferguson, FERGUSON, at Hanley, HANLEY, Homes Group buyersspecshow.com. And of course, we'll have that information for you in the comments section for this video so that you can reach out. Any questions you may have on what's going on with real estate in Southwest Florida, I'm happy to answer. You know, right now, information is the strongest thing you can have. So the more information you're armed with, whether you're buying, selling, or investing, the better off you'll be. All right, guys, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to be with me today. Oh, yes, go ahead. Sorry, Bob.
Hey, Brice, talk a little bit about the future of the rental market, please.
So rentals are interesting. Here's what we see in Southwest Florida. You can own a home. Let's just use some round numbers. Maybe you own a home and the mortgage payment on that home, including your taxes and your insurance, is about $1,200. Likely, you as a rentor could rent that property for about $1,700. So there's a huge divide between where the rental market and the ownership market is. What we have seen is that's not getting any better for the renter. Instead, that price delta is increasing on an average throughout Sarasota County. What does that mean? Well, for a lot of folks, they get stuck in a financial position as a renter where renting can become more and more financially burdensome, and they really need to start looking into owning property. A lot of people went through a hard time in 2008, 9, 10. They lost jobs, they had foreclosures, they had bankruptcies. It was common. A lot of people got a sour taste for homeownership during that time. And they figure, oh, I'm never going to get back into owning a home. I'm not going to go through that again. I can't go through that again. We're 12 years later. The world has changed. Interest rates have changed. Requirements for lending have changed. A lot of these people that couldn't get out of that renting structure now can. So what we're encouraging folks to do is talk to local professionals, a local real estate agent, a local lender, and really get to know what your circumstance is. Maybe your credit is bad and you need some assistance with credit repair. Guess what? We have those contacts for you. Maybe you don't know what programs are out there and you didn't know that, hey, you're eligible for a low down payment first-time home buyer loan. Even though you've owned a home before, you can still do that. Maybe you just don't know what you're looking at as far as how to prepare to be a homeowner because you've been stuck renting for so long. Now, the counterpoint to that is what's happening for the folks that want to be in the landlord position. Well, now is a good opportunity to be ever vigilant of properties that would be great selections for rental investment. It's important that you have people working on your behalf in that regard as well, and pair yourself up with a strong realtor who can keep an active eye on the market to find you opportunities. The key way to make money in this market as a landlord is to have somebody whose fingers on the pulse. So when an opportunity presents itself, especially if it's really well priced, you're in a position to be able to move on it. There are no cheap houses in Venice. There are very cost-effective houses from time to time in Venice. So it's important to keep that in mind. If you're not checking daily and constantly, you may miss out on an opportunity. I always recommend partnering with somebody who can do that for you so that you can focus on taking care of the families that are in your rental properties and let somebody like myself focus on finding you the next great deal. Anybody else? All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully we'll be able to do more of these in the future. I thank you so much. Again, if you need to get a hold of me, my name is Brice Ferguson, and that phone number one more time, 941-735-9304. Thanks, stay safe, and I look forward to hearing from you.